Most men think emotional safety means being overly soft, overly agreeable, or constantly reassuring. They believe that if they are gentle enough, accommodating enough, and available enough, a woman will naturally fall for them. But emotional safety does not come from weakness. It comes from controlled strength. A woman does not feel safe with a man who is unpredictable in his emotions. If your mood shifts based on small inconveniences, if you react intensely to minor disagreements, if your tone changes sharply when challenged, she will sense instability. Even if you never say anything directly aggressive, emotional volatility creates tension, and tension without control does not build attraction, it destroys it. A Stoic man understands that his emotional state is his responsibility. He does not allow external situations to dictate his inner balance. If plans change, he adapts. If she disagrees, he listens calmly. If something frustrates him, he processes it before responding. This discipline creates an environment where she can relax. Relaxation is powerful. When a woman feels that she does not have to manage your emotions, she begins to feel secure. She does not feel like she must walk on eggshells or choose her words carefully to avoid triggering you. She trusts that you can handle discomfort without exploding or withdrawing dramatically. That trust builds attraction over time. Emotional safety is not about suppressing emotion. It is about regulating it. There is a difference between expressing how you feel and losing control. A controlled man can communicate boundaries without anger. He can express disappointment without hostility. He can stand firm without becoming aggressive. This balance of strength and calm is magnetic. Many men sabotage attraction by becoming reactive when they feel insecure. If she takes longer to reply, they become anxious. If she seems distant, they become interrogative. If she interacts with other men, they become jealous and controlling. These reactions reveal fear, and fear erodes attraction. But when you remain composed in those same situations, you demonstrate internal security. You show that your self-worth does not fluctuate based on temporary circumstances. That steadiness makes you emotionally grounding. Grounding energy is rare. In modern dating, emotional chaos is common. Fast emotions, quick attachments, dramatic conflicts. When you operate differently, when your voice stays steady, when your body language remains relaxed, when your responses are measured, you become the stable presence in the room. Emotional safety also means consistency. If you are warm one day and cold the next without explanation, you create confusion. Confusion creates anxiety. But when your behavior is aligned and predictable in a healthy way, she begins to trust your patterns. Consistency communicates reliability. A Stoic mindset trains you to pause between stimulus and response. Something happens, you breathe, you think, you choose your reaction. That small space is where strength lives. It prevents impulsive words. It prevents unnecessary conflict. It protects your reputation. Emotional safety also involves protecting her vulnerability. If she shares something personal, you do not mock it or minimize it. You listen without rushing to fix or dominate the conversation. You allow her to feel heard without judgment. When she feels emotionally understood and emotionally safe, her guard lowers naturally. Lowered guards create deeper connection. It is important to understand that emotional safety does not remove masculine edge. In fact, it enhances it, because when strength is controlled, it becomes trustworthy. When power is disciplined, it becomes attractive. A man who cannot control his anger is dangerous. A man who can control it but chooses calm is powerful. Women fall for men who make them feel secure not just physically, but psychologically. They fall for men whose presence reduces anxiety rather than increases it. They fall for men whose stability allows them to express themselves freely, and when your emotional discipline becomes your default state, she begins to feel safe enough to invest her heart. A man without direction is emotionally unstable even if he appears confident on the surface. He may speak well, he may dress well, he may even appear ambitious. But if his life lacks clear movement, if he is drifting without purpose, something feels uncertain about him, and women are deeply intuitive when it comes to uncertainty. Clear direction creates security. When you know where you are going, your energy changes. Your decisions become sharper. Your time becomes structured. Your standards become clearer. You are no longer reacting to life randomly. You are building something intentionally. That intention is attractive because it signals long-term stability. Most men make the mistake of centering their energy around the woman they are trying to attract. They shift their schedules. They neglect their goals. They prioritize texting over productivity. In the beginning, it feels romantic, but over time, it communicates something dangerous, that she has become your mission. A woman does not want to be your mission. She wants to join your mission. When your life already has momentum, Whether through your career, your fitness, your business, your craft, or your personal development, she feels that being with you means growth. It means forward movement. It means expansion. That feeling creates emotional security because she senses that you are not stagnant. Stagnation kills attraction. A Stoic mindset reinforces this because it focuses on what is within your control. Your purpose is within your control. Her feelings are not. When you invest your energy primarily into your growth rather than chasing validation, you become less desperate for outcomes. That detachment increases your confidence naturally. Purpose also regulates your emotions. When your days are filled with meaningful work, you do not obsess over delayed replies. You do not analyze every small change in tone. You do not build your entire emotional state around romantic interaction. Your focus is divided in a healthy way. This balance makes you calmer. Calm men feel stable. Stable men feel safe. Clear direction also strengthens your boundaries. When you value your time because it is allocated towards something meaningful, you do not give it away carelessly. If plans conflict with your commitments, you do not immediately cancel your priorities. You integrate her into your life instead of restructuring your life around her. That subtle difference creates respect. Respect fuels attraction far more effectively than constant availability. A man with purpose speaks differently as well. His words carry conviction because they are backed by action. When he talks about goals, they are not fantasies, they are projects in motion. When he discusses discipline, it is visible in his routine. Authentic ambition creates depth in conversation. Depth creates intrigue. Women are naturally drawn to men who are building, not because of money alone, but because building signals drive. Drive signals leadership. Leadership signals direction. Direction signals security. Security is attractive because it reduces uncertainty about the future. Even biologically and psychologically, humans are drawn toward stable, steady and long-term partnerships. A man who moves with direction appears reliable. A man who drifts appears temporary. Purpose also protects you from over-investing too early. When your life is structured around growth, you do not rush emotional commitment out of boredom or loneliness. You allow relationships to develop at a healthy pace because your fulfillment is not dependent on them. That independence is powerful. It communicates that you choose her, not that you need her. And when a woman feels chosen rather than needed, the dynamic shifts. Choice feels empowering. Neediness feels heavy. Clear direction also builds internal pride. When you make progress in your life, your self-esteem strengthens naturally. You do not need constant compliments to feel worthy. Your confidence becomes rooted in achievement rather than approval. This kind of confidence is quiet but undeniable. You walk differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently, and she feels it, because when a man is moving forward with discipline and purpose, being with him feels like stepping into a future rather than standing still in the present. And women fall for men who make them feel like they are walking towards something meaningful, not drifting without direction. Emotional control is one of the rarest and most magnetic traits a man can develop. Not emotional suppression, not cold detachment, but true control, the ability to feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. This is where Stoicism becomes practical, not philosophical. Most men lose attraction not because they lack love, but because they lack stability. The moment tension appears, they panic. When a woman pulls back slightly, they overreact. When she tests boundaries, they become defensive. When she expresses frustration, they either explode or collapse. Emotional volatility creates uncertainty, and uncertainty erodes attraction. A woman wants to feel emotion from you, but she also wants to feel safe inside your emotional world. When you control your reactions, you create emotional safety. Think about it. If she challenges you, and instead of becoming reactive, you stay composed, you send a powerful signal. I am not shaken easily. That calmness demonstrates inner strength. It shows that your state is not dictated by temporary circumstances. Control begins with pause. Most emotional damage in relationships happens in moments of impulse. The angry text, the jealous accusation, the sarcastic comment meant to wound. A Stoic man understands that the first emotion is natural, but the second action is chosen. You cannot always control what you feel instantly, but you can control what you do with it. That gap between stimulus and response is where power lives. When you refuse to react impulsively, you build mystery and strength at the same time. Instead of escalating drama, you lower intensity. Instead of defending your ego, you protect your character. Over time, she recognizes that arguments with you don't spiral out of control. Disagreements remain grounded. That consistency builds trust. Trust strengthens attraction. Emotional control also protects you from jealousy. Jealousy often comes from insecurity and fear of loss. But when you are grounded in your value, you don't overinterpret every interaction. Scarcity of attention is powerful, because attention today is cheap. Every man is available. Every man is texting instantly. Every man is watching her stories, reacting to every post, sending constant validation. When something is everywhere, it loses value. When something is controlled, it gains weight. This is where most men misunderstand attraction. They believe the more attention they give, the more secure she will feel. But excessive attention given too free. Lie does not create security. It creates familiarity without tension, and familiarity without effort often turns into boredom. A Stoic mindset understands restraint. It means valuing your time and emotional energy enough to distribute it intentionally. When you are not constantly available, your presence becomes an event instead of background noise. When you respond thoughtfully instead of instantly, your words carry more substance. Think about how people treat what is rare. They protect it, they respect it, they notice it. When your attention is selective, she feels that earning it matters. Most men give full emotional access too early. They overshare, overinvest, and overcommunicate before trust and depth are established. This floods the connection too quickly. There is no space to build anticipation, no room for curiosity. Everything is laid out immediately. Attraction thrives in space. When there is a slight gap between interactions, imagination fills it. She begins to wonder what you are doing. She thinks about you during your absence. She replays conversations. That internal investment builds desire far more effectively than constant reassurance ever could. Silence, when used properly, is not coldness, it is confidence. It signals that you have a life beyond her, that your schedule is not empty, that your emotional stability does not depend on continuous engagement. When a man is overly accessible, he subconsciously communicates that he has nothing more pressing than her attention. When a man is balanced and sometimes unavailable, he communicates that she is part of his world, not the center of it. And that distinction is critical. Women are naturally drawn to men who have gravity, men whose lives are structured, busy, and purposeful. If she feels like she is interrupting your mission rather than sigh, and becoming your mission, her respect increases. Respect intensifies attraction because it adds depth to desire. Another layer of scarcity is emotional restraint. This does not mean hiding feelings forever. It means revealing them progressively. If you express intense attachment too early, you remove the mystery. Emotional pacing allows connection to build in stages. Each stage, earned, feels more meaningful. When she senses that deeper layers of you must be discovered rather than handed over, she becomes curious. Curiosity fuels pursuit. This also protects you from overextending yourself. When you give unlimited access to your time, your energy drains quickly. Resentment can grow. You begin to feel unappreciated because you have given too much too soon. Scarcity protects your emotional resources. It ensures that what you give is given freely, not out of fear of losing her. There is strength in measured communication. You do not need to reply to every minor message instantly. You do not need to solve every emotional fluctuation immediately. Sometimes allowing space gives both of you room to regulate and think clearly. This demonstrates emotional maturity. When you are not chasing constant contact, you appear grounded. When you are not seeking validation through endless interaction, you appear secure. Security is attractive because it removes pressure. She does not feel like she must constantly reassure you. Instead, she feels invited to step closer voluntarily. Scarcity also applies to compliments and validation. When praise is rare but genuine, it carries weight. When admiration is selective but sincere, it feels earned. Over-validation reduces impact. Measured appreciation increases significance. The key is authenticity. Scarcity should never be artificial manipulation. It should be the natural result of a full, disciplined life. If you are truly focused on grid, your availability will automatically decrease. If you genuinely value your time, you will not waste it carelessly. And when your time feels valuable, your presence becomes powerful. Ultimately, controlled attention creates balance. It prevents overattachment, it builds anticipation, it strengthens respect, it allows attraction to develop gradually instead of burning out quickly. Because when a man treats his attention like a resource instead of a giveaway, a woman begins to treat it like something worth earning. And what must be earned is almost always valued more deeply than what is given freely. Unshakable self-respect is the foundation that holds everything together. Without it, purpose collapses under pressure. Emotional control becomes performance. Scarcity turns into manipulation. But when self-respect is real, everything else flows naturally from it. A man who respects himself does not beg for attention. He does not tolerate repeated disrespect. He does not shrink his standards to avoid being alone. And most importantly, he does not abandon his values just to keep someone interested. Self-respect begins with internal standards. You decide what behavior you will accept. You decide how you expect to be spoken to. You decide what aligns with your principles and what does not. When those standards are clear, your actions become consistent. You are not adjusting your personality to maintain approval. You are simply being aligned. Alignment creates stability. Women are highly perceptive to inconsistency. If you act confident one day and insecure the next, assertive one moment and submissive the next, she feels confusion. But when your behavior is consistent because it is rooted in self-respect, she feels grounded around you. Self-respect also means walking away when necessary. Many men fear losing a woman so much that they tolerate subtle disreps, sarcastic put-downs, constant testing, manipulation, emotional games. They laugh it off. They ignore it. They hope it will stop. But every time you tolerate behavior that violates your standards, you weaken your own foundation, and people sense when your foundation is weak. Walking away is not about ego. It is about self-preservation. If a situation consistently disrespects your values, choosing distance communicates strength. It says, "I value myself enough not to remain where I am diminished." That decision alone can dramatically shift how you are perceived. Ironically, the willingness to leave often increases attraction because it signals abundance. A man who knows he can walk away is not desperate. A man who is not desperate does not cling. And a man who does not cling feels powerful. Power, when calm and controlled, is deeply attractive. Self-respect also shapes how you communicate. You speak clearly. You express boundaries without aggression. You do not explode emotionally, but you also do not suppress your needs. You address issues directly, without fear of conflict. Conflict handled with composure builds admiration. When you calmly state, "That doesn't work for me," without hostility or insecurity, you demonstrate strength. You are not trying to dominate. You are not trying to submit. You are simply holding your line. Holding your line consistently creates predictability. Predictability creates trust. Self-respect also protects your identity. In relationships, it is easy to slowly morph into someone else's expectations. You change your hobbies, you adjust your friendships, you silence your opinions. Over time, you no longer recognize yourself. Attraction fades when authenticity fades. A woman may initially enjoy the version of you that pleases her, but long-term she will respect the version of you that stands firmly in who he is. Authenticity creates depth. Depth creates connection. Another dimension of self-respect is discipline. When you keep promises to yourself, waking up on time, training consistently, working toward your goals, you build internal credibility. That credibility changes how you carry yourself. You no longer need external validation because you trust your own word. And when you trust yourself, others trust you more easily. Self-respect eliminates jealousy rooted in insecurity. If someone chooses to leave, you do not collapse. You may feel pain, but you do not feel destroyed, because your identity was never fully attached to their presence. You know your worth does not fluctuate based on someone else's choice. This emotional independence is powerful. It removes fear from your interactions. You do not overcompensate, you do not overgive, you do not overchase. You engage fully, but you remain centered. Centered men are rare. Rare qualities stand out. When self-respect is strong, your energy shifts from seeking approval to offering value. You are not trying to prove yourself worthy, you are evaluating whether the connection aligns with your standards. That subtle mental shift transforms the entire dynamic. You are no longer asking, "How do I keep her?" You are asking, "Does this align with the life I am building?" And balance is attractive because it feels mature. Ultimately, self-respect communicates that you know who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not compromise. It creates emotional stability, clear boundaries, and quiet confidence. It protects your purpose. It strengthens your presence. It deepens attraction without forcing it. Because when a man truly respects himself, he does not need to demand respect from others. It becomes the natural response to the way he carries himself. Masculine leadership is not about control, dominance, or loud authority. It is about direction, decisiveness, and emotional steadiness. It is the quiet ability to move forward without constant reassurance. And in relationships, this quality becomes the glue that holds attraction and trust together. Many men hesitate to lead because they fear being perceived as controlling. So they overcompensate by becoming overly agreeable. They say, "Whatever you want." They avoid making decisions. They defer constantly. At first, this seems kind and flexible, but over time it creates imbalance. When no one leads, uncertainty grows. Leadership removes uncertainty. When you suggest a plan confidently instead of asking endless questions, you create structure. When you decide where to go, what to do, or how to approach a challenge, you demonstrate clarity. Clarity feels stable. Stability feels safe. This is not about ignoring her opinions. It is about having your own. A man who can say, "This is what I think we should do," while still listening calmly to feedback demonstrates balanced strength. He is not rigid, but he is not directionless. He is steady. Steadiness builds emotional attraction because it reduces chaos. Leadership also show what's up during conflict. When tension rises, many men either escalate emotionally or withdraw completely. Leadership means staying present. It means addressing issues directly instead of avoiding them. It means guiding conversations towards solutions instead of fueling drama. When she feels overwhelmed by emotion, your steadiness becomes grounding. When she is uncertain, your clarity becomes reassuring. This does not mean you suppress her feelings. It means you do not get lost inside them. That emotional anchor creates trust. A Stoic approach strengthens leadership because it trains you to focus on what you can control: your actions, your responses, your direction. You do not try to control her emotions. You do not try to manipulate outcomes. You control your character, and through your character you influence the environment. Leadership also means taking responsibility. If you make a mistake, you own it. You do not deflect blame. You do not create excuses. Accountability builds immense respect. It shows maturity. It communicates that your ego does not override your integrity. Integrity is magnetic. When your words and actions align consistently, your presence feels reliable. Reliability creates emotional security, and emotional security strengthens connection. Another aspect of leadership is vision. A man who sees beyond the present moment naturally attracts. When you talk about the future with clarity, not fantasy but structured intention, you create something for her to emotionally invest in. Vision creates movement. Movement creates excitement. Without leadership, relationships often drift. Decisions are postponed. Standards blur. Direction fades. Over time, that drift turns into stagnation, and stagnation weakens attraction. But when you lead, there is momentum. Momentum does not mean constant activity. It means purposeful progression. You move forward, rode together instead of standing still in confusion. You initiate experiences. You create opportunities. You make things happen instead of waiting for life to unfold randomly. Leadership also requires courage. Sometimes you must have uncomfortable conversations. Sometimes you must make decisions that risk disagreement, but avoiding discomfort weakens your authority. Facing it calmly strengthens it. True authority is not loud. It does not demand obedience. It simply commands respect through consistency and composure. When you enter a room with quiet confidence, when you speak without rushing, when you decide without hesitation, people feel it, and she feels it most intimately. A leader does not chase validation. He sets tone. If you are relaxed, the atmosphere relaxes. If you are focused, the energy sharpens. If you remain calm under pressure, tension lowers. Your emotional state influences the dynamic more than you realize. That influence is power, not power over her, but power over yourself. And self-mastery is the highest form of leadership. When she senses that you can guide situations, handle adversity, and remain composed under stress, attraction deepens because she feels supported, not burdened. She feels partnered with someone capable. Ultimately, masculine leadership is about responsibility, clarity, decisiveness, and calm strength. It is the natural extension of purpose, emotional control, scarcity, and self-respect. It ties everything together into a cohesive presence. Because when a man can lead his own life with discipline and vision, he naturally becomes someone others feel safe and excited to follow.